All right, just making sure everyone can see. Just making sure everyone can see my, okay.
Yes, I can see your PowerPoint
Great.
presentation.
Great, thank you so much for the introduction. And I'm really happy to be presenting to you all today to tell you all about the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Emergency Programs Division. So I'll be doing most of the talking for this presentation today. Again, my name is Anna Allen, and I'm a veterinarian with the division, but our director, Kellie Nilsson, is on the call as well, and so she'll be available for during our question and answer and discussion period. All right. So again, my name is Anna Allen. I'm the Southeastern Region Emergency Programs Veterinarian. I graduated from North Carolina State University College of Veterinary Medicine in 2010. And I actually joined the Department of Agriculture Emergency Programs Division in 2012. I received an MPH in epidemiology from UNC Chapel Hill in 2015. And I serve the Southeastern region now as a field staff member, and I'll explain a little more about our field staff later in the presentation. But I serve about 18 counties in the southeastern part of the state. I'm based out of Raleigh, and I live here with my family. So the objectives for this presentation: I'm going to describe the mission and the structure of the Emergency Programs Division. I'll talk about the role emergency programs plays before, during, and after disasters. And I'll also explain how emergency programs integrates into the larger emergency management picture. The mission of the Emergency Programs Division is to support the agriculture community and protect consumers by coordinating the department's efforts to plan for, respond to, and recover from emergency events and public health concerns that may impact agriculture in North Carolina. Pictured here is our org chart for our division. So we have our division director, who is appointed by the Commissioner of Agriculture. We have an operations chief who coordinates our field staff. So over on the left-hand side, that's our field staff. Currently consists of 6 full-time positions with an upcoming 7th position to be added soon. We work out of our homes and cover, we've divided the state up into 5 regions that we cover, and I'll show you that on the next slide. And in the downtown Raleigh office, we currently have 3 full-time positions with 2 more full-time positions coming soon. Then you'll see over on the right-hand side of the org chart, we have an information support services section in our division with a director and 4 full-time staff. And this is like our own mini IT division. So they do database and application development and management, as well as GIS work for our division in peacetime and during emergencies. And then they also support many other divisions within the department with this type of work. This is a map of how we've divided up the state to be covered by our field staff. So I'm in the light blue. Those are my 18 counties in the southeastern part. We have 2 other veterinarians that serve on our field staff, one in green in the Northeastern Division, one in the central part of the state, which is yellow, and then we have a Western specialist and a mountain specialist. We also have another field staff member who coordinates all of our equipment and supplies at our warehouse, and then our additional full-time position that we'll be hiring soon will also be at the warehouse to support all of our equipment and supplies. As field staff on a day-to-day basis, We serve as a liaison and a consultant between our division and partners in our counties who are traditionally involved in emergency and disaster preparedness and response. So our primary partners at the county level that we build relationships with are emergency management, animal services, public health, and cooperative extension. So emergency programs for preparedness, we work with a variety of internal partners within our department, as well as external partners at the local, state, and national level to prepare for disasters and emergencies that impact animals and agriculture. When animals and agriculture are impacted by a disaster, our department coordinates and supports response missions that are assigned to us, either with our own department resources or the resources of external partner agencies. And we just help coordinate getting those resources to the people and entities that are requesting them. And then on the recovery side, we help coordinate and assist with any disaster recovery efforts and programs to build resiliency in the animal and ag sectors. Why do we exist? Why do we do this? So agriculture and agribusiness is the largest industry in North Carolina. And this sector represents families and communities, jobs and income. It represents our food, which is a critical infrastructure and obviously really important. And then psychological well-being through the human-animal bond. And this is not just people and their pets. Farmers can form bonds with their animals as well. I wanted to provide this slide to show you a little bit about the diversity of North Carolina agriculture. In the chart on the top, I've actually cut out a lot of commodities. I'm showing you here in this chart on the top, commodities where North Carolina is ranked first in the nation in the production of these particular commodities. And then the pie chart on the bottom, what I want to highlight there is that animal agriculture and livestock, dairy, and poultry represents almost 70% of the agriculture sector in North Carolina. So it's just a huge part of our state, a huge part of our identity here. And so that is why we do what we do, is to support this really important industry. So the types of incidents that we prepare for and respond to: natural disasters, a big one here in North Carolina. So hurricanes, obviously, other severe weather events like tornadoes or even severe winter storms sometimes, catastrophic animal or plant diseases or pests, and fires, to include forest fires. And then we also have to prepare for man-made events or human-caused events like massive food recalls or feed recalls, biological, chemical, or radiological accidents, accidental or intentional introduction of a foreign animal disease or a zoonotic disease into our animal or livestock population, or an accidental or intentional introduction of a foreign plant pest or a foreign plant disease into our plant or crop populations. EP staff regularly participate in a wide variety of preparedness activities with our internal department divisions, as well as so many external partner organizations at the local and state and national level to prepare for emergencies and disasters that impact animals and agriculture. We lead and attend meetings and trainings and exercises such as local emergency planning committees, incident command system training, animal sheltering, and public health preparedness. And I've put an asterisk next to this and some of the other bullet points on this slide. And that asterisk is there to remind me to say that if any of your organizations that you're a member of or that you're representing today, if you would ever like any of our staff to come to a meeting or a training that you're having, or speak to your organization more about what we do and how we might integrate with your organization specifically, please feel free to reach out. We love doing that sort of thing. We lead and participate on a lot of work groups and task forces. We've conducted grant projects on things like animal carcass transport, incorporating special captive bird collections into our disease response plans, equipment decontamination, and agriculture emergency response. We also inspect animal contact exhibits at agriculturally sanctioned fairs. So animal contact exhibits may be a pony ride or a camel ride or a petting zoo. And we inspect those to make sure that they're following what's known as Aiden's Law. And so it's just a list of rules and regulations that those exhibitors have to follow to keep the public safe from zoonotic diseases like E. coli and Salmonella. We do a lot of partner engagement with all of these activities and just really try and build relationships during preparedness times so that we have really good, strong relationships with different people and different organizations that we might work with during a disaster or that we want to start working with during a disaster. And then we also maintain a lot of supplies and equipment for logistical readiness for our response activities. Most of those are at our main warehouse, but then we've staged some equipment and supplies in various parts of the state to be more convenient to use. So some more specifics about our role in response. So and again, I've used some asterisks here on these bullet points. And again, that's just to remind me that there are particular areas where I want to highlight where we might be able to integrate with some of you all's organizations. So we primarily coordinate our response activities out of an agriculture emergency operations center. And then we usually send 1 to 2 liaisons to the state EOC, and our liaisons sit in the Human Services branch, like many of your liaisons do as well. So we're the lead agency specifically for ESF 11, which is Agriculture and Natural Resources, and this also includes all types of animals. We use the incident command system to set up and run our responses. We have an agriculture IMT that gets set up to run our response. We support companion animal sheltering coordination. So we'll send personnel and equipment and supplies to counties to support co-located pet sheltering at local shelters. And if the state stands up any large shelters, then we'll help manage the pet sheltering at any of those larger shelters as well. We stand up an emergency response hotline, an ag emergency hotline during many large disasters. And this is a hotline that anybody from the public can call in and request assistance or ask questions. Any responding organizations can call in and ask questions. And we have trained operators to answer that hotline to help people get the information or to help direct them for how to get help. We help coordinate animal search and rescue with local county animal services. We support ag producers with information and resources. And I wanted to illustrate here, I've got that asterisk there to remind me to mention that when you all are out serving on missions and responding with your organizations, one way that you can kind of help us and help the folks out there in the community is to ask people if they have animal or agriculture issues that are going on, or if they're hearing about animal or agriculture issues going on in the community, and relay that information back through your channels to our liaisons in the Human Services branch, or you can call those in to the hotline, or you can tell people that are relaying this information to you out in the field, you can give them the Ag Emergency Hotline number to call, and we can get them help that way. But we were kind of thinking that you all might be some helpful eyes and ears out there for us while you're out working. One of the other important things that we do is to coordinate and assist with proper animal carcass disposal to minimize any potential effects on the environment and public health from animals that happen to die during disasters. We also provide maps to our industry partners and to some of our internal divisions so that they can show their regulated facilities the potential weather coming, and some of those facilities may choose to move products, or farmers may choose to move animals out of the storm's path because we're able to provide those weather forecast maps to them. We also coordinate flight patterns over impacted areas to help us survey the damage and document damage. Some of the more specific to the response activities that we've been involved in on the animal side, we do help support search and rescue of animals, which is a really highly technical process. As technical as it is for humans, it's the same for rescuing animals. Providing feed and water or equipment and supplies or other donations as requested. And this could be something that the groups that you all serve with may be able to help us with, is not only knowing about potential needs that haven't made it to the local emergency manager yet, but also if your group is going out somewhere or has a staging area, perhaps we could help share that staging area, or you could help get supplies to an affected area that you're going to. Containment is another piece there. So this would be fencing supplies or fencing repair, debris removal from fenced in areas where animals are kept, or structural repair, similar to the types of work that some of your organizations already do on the residential side. Farmers may need that type of assistance as well. And so it could be the sort of thing, there might be people in your organizations that have animal or agriculture experience that could be leveraged to help farmers on the ground level. So that's why I want to let you know the types of work that we're usually looking for help with for farmers. And if you have that type of capability or expertise, maybe you'd want to help us out as well when we get those requests. On the agriculture side, a lot of times we need chainsaw crews, or again, debris removal from fields to make it possible to harvest crops. And I mentioned structure repair as well. So it may be, a barn or some other type of storage structure that if it's not repaired, or if we don't get some type of temporary roof over it, then the commodities that are stored there may be damaged. Just wanted to show you a few pictures. We have many of some of our recent responses. So the top one is a tornado that has gone through a farm. On the top right is a flooded poultry field. On the bottom left is some of our crews out euthanizing poultry in a damaged poultry house that's not safe to go in. We also have to euthanize poultry in a similar manner if there's a large disease outbreak. And then I have a couple of pictures here of our Ag Emergency Operations Center, which we set up at our headquarters in downtown Raleigh. I wanted to show you just a few assets and pictures that we have specifically to support animals. So our CAMET, or Companion Animal Mobile Equipment Trailer, we have, I don't know, about 45 or so of these out in the state. They belong to individual counties and they can be shared among the counties during disasters. We also have one that belongs to us at the Department of Agriculture. And this is a trailer that it's just an equipment trailer, but it's filled with the basic equipment and supplies that an organization may need to set up a basic small animal shelter. Over on the far right-hand side is a companion animal sheltering trailer. We have about 18 of these in the state. One of them is ours. And I know that more counties are acquiring these. And this is actually a trailer where you can house animals temporarily to get them out of harm's way and to shelter them for a short period of time. There are actually cages inside of this to shelter the animals. There's running water. They are climate controlled, and they can either run off a generator or they can be plugged into a building. So it's a really nice asset that can be deployed just about anywhere to help give animals a safe place to be. I've included some pictures here from some of our hurricanes where some national and highly trained national and state search and rescue folks have helped animals. And if it's appropriate and they're able to extract the animals and they're not in a safe place, then they'll try and get them out. But sometimes the animals are perfectly safe where they are, and it may be really unsafe to try and go in and get them out. So sometimes the search and rescue folks or the animal welfare folks will feed and water these animals in place and leave them at their homes so that they don't get lost. So I wanted to just mention that, because if you're out in the field working and you see animals, you can't tell whether they're being cared for during the disaster just by looking at them. So if you see animals and you're concerned about them, it's best to call local animal services in the county where you are and ask them about the status of those animals. They might be being taken care of where they are, or perhaps the county may not know about them yet. So best to just ask and not make assumptions about animals there. We have a state animal and agriculture response team, which is a group of organizations that either have authority or an interest in helping animals and agricultural, the ag industry during disasters. And this is a group of organizations that primarily is going to share information and share resources during a disaster. And it's going to be these organizations may or may not put responders on the ground. It's more likely that it'll be donations, equipment and supplies and that type of thing. We also have a veterinary response corps. We have a list of volunteers from the veterinary community that have received some basic incident disaster training, as well as biosecurity and sheltering training. And we can deploy those folks, and we have done so in the past. Just want to provide one example of what one of the maps looks like that we send out to our divisions or industry partners. And again, we can overlay weather data or disease outbreak data with all of the different regulated facilities that we have, and just help those folks either plan to get out of the way or plan to, shore up things where they are. I wanted to briefly contrast natural disaster response and animal disease outbreak response because they are a little bit different. So in natural disaster response, which is what most of you are probably more familiar with, the local county emergency management is primarily in charge of that response in their county until they can no longer handle it, and then they request resources from state emergency management. And if any of those resource requests have to do with animals or agriculture, then that request is tasked to the Department of Agriculture, and we respond with, in conjunction with county emergency management and state emergency management to provide personnel or equipment or whatever it is, either from our department or from one of our partner organizations. So we're pretty, that seems pretty familiar to most of you probably. In contrast, when we are responding to an animal disease outbreak like avian influenza, which is one of our biggest threats right now, it will operate differently because local county governments don't have the authority to direct and operate this type of event. That authority is held at the state level with the state veterinarian. And in North Carolina, the state veterinarian is in the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. And depending on the disease, sometimes we will share the management of the outbreak with our federal partner, USDA. So the basic difference is that the response objectives and the plan and operations will come from the state level down to the county level and will be a little more top-down driven than a natural disaster, which is bottom-up driven. So on the recovery side, we promote and provide education and guidance on the different recovery programs and resiliency programs that are going on, different tools that are available. We provide those to the agricultural industry and community. We coordinate and assist with any disaster recovery efforts in the ESF 11 sector as requested. And then we advocate on behalf of our ESF 11 sector in any groups and meetings about disaster recovery and resiliency initiatives. I wanted to highlight some of the larger incidents that we've responded to over the past few years. So Hurricane Matthew in 2016 was quite a large event for us. Hurricane Florence in 2018, we had over 4 million birds, mainly chickens, that had to that died as a result of flooding during that incident that had to be disposed of. In the spring of 2020, we had an outbreak of low pathogenic avian influenza, and that kind of flew under the radar a little bit because there were other really exciting and new things happening in spring of 2020, like COVID. We also, like many, experienced and had to help with COVID supply chain disruption issues in the animal and ag sector during 2020. And then last spring, we had an outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza in North Carolina as just a part of the ongoing national outbreak of that disease that continues to exist right now. And that is the end of my presentation, or the formal part of our presentation. And both Kellie and I are happy to take any questions that you all have.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for the wonderful presentation. I see a couple of comments in the chat box, and I see Kellie has been working on answering or addressing those comments. So Jawida, it's inviting your department to set up a table for the Carteret County Hurricane Preparedness Expo. Those expos are really wonderful. I attended most of them last year and very helpful to connecting with the community and in providing preparedness information. Chris Crew added a link into the chat box for the 2023 update of the state hazard mitigation plan and asked to please take a look particularly at the section for capabilities. If you want to expand a little bit more on that, Chris, please unmute yourself. But he's suggesting for us to look at that document. Chris, are you there?
Sure. Thank you very much. As part of the update for that plan, we tried to engage with all of the state agencies that have, anything touching hazard mitigation, reducing the future impacts of hazards. And we did do some fairly extensive interviewing with the Department of Agriculture. But if you would just like to take a look at that and let me know if we missed anything that's important. If you have any ideas about potential mitigation measures that we may help you explore or develop, just drop me an email and let me know. We can update that plan at any time by just drafting and adopting any changes we would like to make to it, or we can catch it all. Certainly we update it every 5 years by law. We generally start in year 3 with the next round of updates, but at any time you see anything that you think could be better in that, we'd appreciate you letting us know. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Happy to look at that again, Chris, and we'll get back to you for sure. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Mr. Alfred Food added a suggestion on the chat box to become part of the NC-VOAD and NC Inclusivity Disaster Recovery Network. Let me mention that a reason why we are doing this presentation today, it's because Kellie invited us to do a presentation for the SART group. And a lot of information came out in that presentation from NC-VOAD that was that kind of made us think about maybe increasing knowledge among our partners about what the Department of Agriculture does to increase collaboration between them and local organizations. So I think, as Kellie mentioned, there is an interest of joining NC-VOAD to begin collaborating. Let's see, there's, and yes, April, the slides for today's presentation will be shared. Do you want to expand on that, on your comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the the insider, as we call it, is more, reaches a lot of different people than NC-VOAD. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of crossover, but we also have a lot of the groups that we're working with migrant farmers, for example, down in the eastern parts of the state that were affected pretty bad by Florence. And the bigger our net, the better our power later on to get things done. To move things. I don't think people realize how important it is to get the message out into different areas like that. It's just, I don't think we knew how important it was when we first started all this back after Matthew. So.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Just like echoing what you said, just increasing reach. I mean, we can never work hard enough with pushing information and reaching out to get more information to help people. And we know that, human life safety is always going to be prioritized in the aftermath of a disaster. And we know that we know there's going to be a delay in us hearing about animal and ag issues, and anything we can do to shorten that delay and get that information back to us sooner to help those people, to make sure that they don't feel like people are not looking out for them and don't want to help. So.
And one thing that comes to my mind, Al, now that I hear you and see you, it's long-term recovery groups, right? Those groups are very embedded in the community, and a lot of times we depend on them to be able to support the communities and the families. So, Dr. Allen, does the Department of Agriculture works with these long-term recovery groups? Do you have liaisons that might be able to attend those meetings and connect with these groups?
Kellie, I'll let you answer that.
We have a number of divisions that work in specific areas of long-term recovery and resiliency. In terms of working with community members, this brings me back to a conversation that Luce and I just had yesterday, as a matter of fact, that I think, Alfred, you may be interested in getting together with us to talk about how best we can provide outreach and education to various groups within the agriculture community, specifically agriculture farm workers. You may be a good connection for us in terms of some of the work that we're thinking of developing and working on, specifically in preparedness and outreach to that sector of the community. And that goes beyond just the preparedness, that goes into the response and the long-term recovery as well. So we honestly, just yesterday, we're meeting and talking about this particular subject, and it's an area that hasn't been fully explored, but it's an area that we're looking at right now. So that might be something to be interested in joining us on.
Yeah, I'm always interested in meeting and getting more contacts out there. So absolutely, I'd love it. I put my email in with my question, but I work at DSS. I'm not hard to find. I would recommend Danielle Archibald. She's actually I think secretary at NC VOAD now. She works with Church World Services, and she has helped us connect with the migrant community here that a lot of people don't know exists in Cumberland County, but it truly does. And so I know she has a lot of connections. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, she was in my list, Al. We are working on developing a list of key people that we can bring to the table to discuss this issue and try to address it. So thank you for the suggestion.
Yes, thank you. Very timely, actually.
Yes. So we have a comment from Phil Triplett. It is interested in that I left the California Farm and Agriculture Task Force meeting. He's in California at this moment supporting on behalf of our state. And he said, I participated along with the California State Val, who also has a seat at the table. The purpose is to gather information for individual assistant and public assistant and share what we've seen on the ground, including the health and welfare of the migrant workers and undocumented. Phil, do you want to unmute yourself if you're able to, and expand more?
Well, partner, you know, I'm rarely short on words, but I'll keep it short. But it's been really exciting, the partnership that I'm seeing with ag here in California and individual assistance, hazard mitigation, debris removal. It's all pulled together in this one weekly meeting that we have. And sometimes Valerie and I are just sitting there gathering information that we can take out into the field, like yesterday when we were out in the middle of miles of almond trees, working with the migrant workers coming in for the season and the displaced undocumented families that live in the Planada area of Merced County. And see how that cooperation was helping with the farmers and the workers, and what the county and state have done to house the migrant workers, that I thought was really something interesting to see. And I could see where that would be of great value for us, especially in Eastern North Carolina, that Daniela and other people like Dr. Foote was talking about, that would be, I think, in the long term, very beneficial for us to find a way to do that. And in talking with Director Ray, it's just part of the areas that he sees emergency management really needs to expand into, to have a more holistic approach in the recovery as well as preparedness process that's just not lights and sirens and everything being good after that. So I'm really encouraged about being able to jump from one to the other and see what possibilities that I can share with them that I have been doing, as well as what we can do here in North Carolina once I'm able to finally come home.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Philip. Very interested in finding out what you've learned in California and exploring what we can do here, for sure.
Phil and Dr. Allen posted a message there on the chat box asking if you can share the list of organizations that are part of the task force in California.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would be more than happy to get together to talk about it once they allow me to come home. They're actually handing me job applications, since they know all about fires and earthquakes, but this was a big surprise. They've never had a flood event of this magnitude in California. And as I kind of joked, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And since I'm somewhat familiar with that in North Carolina, I seem to be in a bit of a demand, but they are letting me come home for 2 weeks before I come back again. So I really want to share what I've learned from them, as well as the appreciation they've had, that all the things that I've shared, not just about emergency management recovery, but the things I've learned sitting in the EOC beside the people with ag and hearing what's going on and how we put some things together that they haven't thought about, especially not being aware of flooding. So it's a really good partnership that I was really glad the director was excited and allowed me to leave the state lines for once to come out and see how other things are done.
Well, I think that sounds like a really great presentation topic for this series, Luce. So I'm looking forward to that presentation, Philip.
See, I do talk too much.
Phil, I'm going to put you on the list for presentations.
And that might also be handy to have for us, Anna, here in-house, and also for the SART. So Philip, you'll have a full dance card before you even get home.
Well, I've always been on Luz's list, but I'm not sure at what level and for what reason, but we'll figure something out so we can share it. I'm all about making things better for everybody, and it's been a great experience being out here, and more people need to be able to share information to help each other out when we're wading through the water.
Well, Phil, we certainly appreciate the good representation that you're giving North Carolina in California, but you belong here, like Jawida said. You belong in North Carolina, so don't go anywhere.
Oh, North Carolina is my home. The mountains and the snow that we're going to have tomorrow in the valley, which they're not used to, will be fun to see, but I'll be glad to see the Appalachian Mountains again and the beaches there, because that's where the heart is.
Thank you. And I do not see any additional questions on the chat box. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Dr. Allen and Kellie? Feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, I guess no more questions or comments for you both. I do want to thank you again for this wonderful presentation. And just to remind everyone, this presentation will be it was recorded, and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel. All the information, you will be receiving it within the next couple of days from me via email. And I am also going to be sending the information for our next presentation, which is going to be on the Needs List platform, which a lot of you are familiar with the platform. For those who are not, this is an opportunity for you to get more familiar, but it is our donations and volunteer management platform that we are using for recovery and also for any future disasters that may come our way, hopefully not anytime soon. But more information to come in the next couple of days. Again, thank you everyone for attending today's presentation, and you are all dismissed. Thank you.